Welcome back to my channel, Book Besties. I'm Maria, and today we're talking about indie author book royalties. If you've been following me for a while, then you already kind of know what we're going to be talking about here, and especially if you're on my Substack, then you've actually seen what I'm going to be talking about. I've started talking about these in May, maybe June of this year, and so I have a lot of backlog to get through, but I thought it would be kind of like a fun thing to talk about, especially because I know I have a lot of authors who do follow me, and some of them are at a just different point in their writing journey, and so they don't know what book royalties look like and a lot of the nuances of the business. So I thought that I would go ahead and share. This isn't me attempting to pity market or anything. It's just genuinely me trying to be forthcoming about the business, the process, how much effort it takes to make sales, especially if you are on a very small marketing budget. So strap in, and today I'm just going to talk about how the royalties work, and then my next episode will be about the actual book royalties that I have earned each month in 2025. I think I am up through July at this point, and there is a few months lag in between when I can talk about everything, since it takes sometimes up to 90 days for me to get a payment. So we'll go ahead and jump in and get started. Something important to me when I'm talking about being an independent author is that I don't just want to share the highlights. And there are a lot of highlights in my indie career. I've published a lot of books. I've gotten to hold my books in my hands, and that is definitely the highlight of the entire journey. Is you've done all of this work, probably cried along the way, and you finally get to hold the physical evidence of all of this hard work that you've put into in your hands, and it's an overwhelming, very cool feeling to finally have a copy of the book you've been writing for months in your hands. And so that's a highlight, and I did share a video of me opening Be Still My Undying Heart for the very first time on this channel. But I don't talk about the lowlights a lot, and I'd like to start doing that because it's more honest of me. Social media is quite often you're only seeing what people want you to see. You're not seeing the hard days. You're not seeing the fact that I haven't been able to write for the last week because I just simply can't motivate myself to do it. So we're going to do the highlights and the lowlights here. And I do have a few topics that are very personal that I'd like to talk about soon. And so we're going to start with this one. And then we'll be able to dive into some of the other stuff that I'm interested in exploring with you. So I know I already said let's get started. Let's go ahead and take a look at how indie book royalties actually work. Book royalties are actually very complicated. You think that it would be so much more simple than it actually is. You don't just write a book and get all of the money from that book. Unless you're doing direct sales, and even then you still have to pay to get copies of the book into your hand. So you're not just going to be able to publish the book and get 100% of your earnings on average. You're more than likely going to be paying some sort of company out of each of your book sales to have your book available on their platform. So first I want to talk about Kindle Direct Publishing. It is usually the first place most of us indie authors go in order to publish their books. It's the most accessible, the cheapest, and honestly, most people will tell you to go Amazon first because they have such a huge corner of the market. My books are personally published wide, which is to say they're available at a wide range of retailers. They're not just at Amazon, they're everywhere I can possibly get my grubby little hands on. And Amazon is still the majority of my sales. And so yes, Amazon is super important for independent authors, and they probably make some good money off of us. So let's take a look. If you publish an ebook below $2.99 or above $9.99, you are making 35% of your sales price. So if you are listing a book at $1, you are making 35 cents. If you have a book listed from $2.99 to $9.99, you earn 70% of sales price, less a delivery fee based on the file size. So 70% of $2.99 is $2.09. For simplicity's sake, let's go ahead and say that that is $2 for your $3 book. For print books on Amazon, if your print book is below $9.99, you get 50% of sale after production costs. So if you have a $10 book and it costs $2.50 to print that book, you have $7.50 left, and you get 50% of that, $3.25. If you have a print book over $9.99, you get 60% after production costs. And that recently changed. I believe that it was in June that it changed, because it used to be 60% for books below $9.99 too, I believe. I could be a little incorrect about that. I don't have any books below $9.99. But there were a lot of authors who had books listed at $9.99 and changed their list price to $10.01 so that they could get their 60% sale instead of 50%. And it's a little odd to me that literally 2 cents on a price is the breaking point here for some reason. I think that it should really just be either 50% or 60% all the time. It doesn't seem to make sense to me that for some reason a $10 price tag makes the difference between 50% royalties and 60% royalties. For draft to digital, Draft to Digital is an aggregator. You upload your book with them, and they distribute your book to multiple retail points of sale for you, and they take a small fee in order to do that. But it also saves me time as an author to just upload to one place instead of having to upload to multiple different outlets, because that is time consuming as well. And I think that my time is more important than what will amount to a couple of cents. And I know that adds up in time, but I think at least for me and my journey, it's worth it. I also have a referral link to Draft to Digital, and I will post it in my description down below. If you decide to post your books on Draft to Digital, it gives me a little bit of a kickback from your sales for the first year or something like that. But also, like, I think it's a really cool kind of incentive program because, a lot of authors tend to band together, and so it incentivizes me to help you market your books. So, if you end up using my link, let me know and I'll shout you out on my social media. So let me read this ebook description, and hopefully it makes sense because it is a long little blurb here. Our fee is approximately 10% of the price you set for your book. That means most of our stores take about 30%. Draft to Digital takes about 10%, and you keep about 60% of the list price of your ebook. So, in theory, it's about 60% royalties that you're earning at Draft to Digital, but it does vary depending on the retailer the book is being sent to. For print books, I personally do not use Draft to Digital for my print books, but what their website says is authors make approximately 45% of the list price minus printing cost. And we're going to move on to another retailer, and I'm going to try and spare you from my commentary on them, but I think that you're going to be able to notice how I feel about them. Ingram Spark. I have given two options for Ingram Spark here. For the sake of brevity, I'm going to do a rather cheap book, just so that we don't have crazy numbers flying around here. So the first scenario on Ingram Spark is the 40% wholesale discount, which I believe is the lowest discount that can be set on Ingram Spark. Our book is $10.99, and the print cost is $3. The wholesale discount, based on list price, is $4.40. Ingram Spark charges a 1.5% market access fee. That is 17 cents in the case of this book, which means that on our $10.99 book with a 40% wholesale discount, we earn $3.43. This is based off of my writing prompt journal. So for anybody wondering, we're talking about approximately 120 page book. And then we have the 55% wholesale discount. This wholesale discount is what is recommended if you are trying to get your books into a brick and mortar bookstore. So we have our $10.99 book with a $3 print cost. The wholesale discount is now $6.05 with the market access fee, which means that we're earning $1.77 on our book. I think that there's a lot that I could say here, and this is not meant to be a video that is a review of each of these print-on-demand options for independent authors, and I think that there's a lot of good videos out there already for you to take a look at, comparing the different retailers and with authors' thoughts on different places. So I'm just going to leave this information as it is and not get any deeper into my thoughts about Ingram Spark. So next I need to talk about Voices by In Audio, formerly Findaway Voices. I guess this requires a little bit of a backstory, so I apologize for the tangent. Findaway Voices a couple of years ago was bought out by Spotify, and Spotify recently sold Findaway Voices to In Audio, and I'm really hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, so sorry if I'm not. So it's now Voices by In Audio, but formerly Findaway Voices. And so Spotify for authors, if your books are listed on Spotify, you can get paid directly through Spotify now, I guess. I'm not entirely sure I understand how it works yet because it's kind of so new, and I don't think I've earned any royalties from Spotify since the change. But Voices is where most of my audiobooks are published. So I don't have all of my books available on audiobook yet, but the two that I have are on Findaway Voices. I do have my book listed. Be Still My Undying Heart is available on ACX, but I haven't received royalties from them yet. So I don't have a lot to say about that until I start receiving royalties from them. But just so you know, it's available if you have any Audible credits. Or, you can just a la carte it too, because it's going to be cheaper than your Audible credit is worth. So I just used $10 as a list price because it's a nice round even number that doesn't require me doing a whole bunch of math. We have a retailer fee of 45%, or $4.50. Voices takes a fee of $1.10. I don't remember what percentage it was supposed to be. I didn't write it down, and it's too late for me to fix it at this point. So the remaining author royalty selling one audiobook at $10 is $4.40. Just for some context, because I know not everybody has published an audiobook before, audiobooks cost a lot of money to make. For Be Still My Undying Heart, I spent about $800 on 2 hours of audio, and the rate of your narrator could end up being different, but if you can imagine someone hiring a narrator for dozens of hours of audiobook, because I know that there are certain books out there that are very verbose. The Wandering Inn comes to mind. That book is, I think the last time I took a look at that audiobook, it was 44 hours long. So audiobooks get very expensive very quickly, and as you're seeing, the author is making way less than the actual list price of the book. So you have to sell hundreds of audiobooks to even earn out on the investment, which is why a lot of independent authors don't do audiobooks. I personally really value audiobooks. It's my primary mode of reading, because with my life being so crazy busy, it's easier for me to listen to what I'm reading rather than trying to physically read a book in any sort of capacity. So it's personally my goal to eventually have all of my books in audio format, but it's also kind of cost restrictive. If you can afford it, do it, that's great. If you can't, then just move on to the next project for now, because those books will always be available to you to make an audiobook later. Advertising. For the most part, I do not pay for advertising. I use two methods primarily for my advertising, and then when I'm really trying to do a big push for sales, then I will pay for some advertising, but I'm not going to really pay a whole lot of money to do advertising. So I use two programs. One of them is called BookFunnel, and I just do their very cheapest subscription for $20 a year, so that I have access to their group promos and their newsletter swaps. Group promos are for books all in similar genres or with similar themes that are created, and the authors all share those group promotions to their reader list, and hopefully people take a look at it and are interested in those similar books and purchase them. Newsletter swaps are, in my opinion, a little bit more intimate. They are basically me as an author saying, hey, your book really fits with what my audience is interested in, and vice versa. Let me shout out your book to my people, and you shout out my book to your people, and hopefully there's a good amount of crossover there, and we both benefit from it. Other ways that I have advertised before is email marketing. There are certain companies that will create reader lists, and there's a few very respectable ones out there, and there's ones I've used before that I am no longer going to be using, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but basically these websites collect user email addresses. They say, hey, I'm interested in this type of book, and these email marketing lists will accept a fee from an author who identifies what their book is about and what genre it would fit into, and then they post about it in the appropriate newsletter. So it's a good way to get some extra exposure, because sometimes finding readers is a little bit difficult, especially if you've kind of extended all of your resources as an author, and you've asked all of your friends to post about your book, and you've done all of the group promos and the author swaps. And it's just a little way to kind of get an extra bonus push if you're trying to sell some more books for some reason. There's a few other ways to do it. You could do like an Instagram ad or a Facebook ad. I honestly cannot speak to either of those. I've never used them. I couldn't tell you whether they're worth it or not. But I have used Amazon ads before. I tried it out for the first time this year, and I'm gonna be straight with you, I made no money off of it. So if anything, I lost money on the Amazon ads. I got, I don't even remember, a nominal amount of clicks and a ton of impressions and made no sales. So at least for me, with my modest marketing budget of like sub $100 per year and often much below that, like we're talking under 50, it is not worth it for me to try to do that until I can get a better lock on book marketing in the Amazon marketplace. I hope that this kind of helps give you a little bit of background on indie author royalties and how they kind of work. And we're going to dive in on our next episode to talk about the actual royalties that I earned in the month of January. I'll get into how many books I sold and what I earned from them. I hope that this has been interesting for you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining.